Hello, welcome to this exclusive interview with Sam Rossi. I'm going to be talking with my mentor and partner, Andre Pickens. Say hello, Andre.
Hello.
Andre has been instrumental for me in helping me see a life outside of what I had. And we're going to talk a little bit about the life that I used to have before I got into this, meeting millionaires, getting millionaire mentors, spending time with the rich and successful. And Andre is going to tell us about his life as well and how it's affected him. So let's just get right into it. Andre, tell us a little bit, if you don't mind, about how you grew up. What were the circumstances?
I kind of grew up in two extremes. The first extreme was that in my younger, pre-10 years old, we didn't really have or at least if we had money, I certainly didn't know about it. We didn't grow up with silver spoons. And then because of family reasons, we were sent away to live somewhere else for a couple of years, and then we came back home and when I was 12, 13 years old. And that changed. I went from completely no money, I won't say no money, but we weren't rolling in it.
Underprivileged a little bit?
Some people could probably say that. I don't know if I would say underprivileged because we weren't poor, but we weren't loaded. And then when I came back home when I was 12, then we were loaded. And it just kind of came out of nowhere. So I went from I guess what you could call the typical working class to firmly in the upper class, and it was almost like a shock when me and my brother came back home. So I grew up in both of those environments. So I remember more of what it was like to have the money than not to. So most of the information I'll give will be based on my upbringing in terms of having the money.
Okay. Would you say that your parents had wealthy connections when you were younger, or do you know if they did?
I'm not aware of it. I know that my dad was always, at least from what I can remember, he was always trying to find his way of quote unquote getting ahead. Just like a lot of parents, I was a 90s kid, so things were a little bit more difficult back then in terms of connecting. Like now it's friggin' breeze in comparison to the way it was in the 90s. Or hell, even just in the early 2000s. It's just easy. So, but yeah, things were very different in terms of after he started to, I know he was looking for people. I don't think he found them though. And he must have found them afterwards.
Hold on. Can you tell us a little bit about what your dad did specifically, what you're talking about with connecting with people?
Well, I don't know exactly what he did. I just know that he was always looking for his big break when I was younger. He was always looking for that. Oh, I got to get this big break. I got to do this. I got to do that. He was always looking for that. So, and he was failing. He failed miserably. He tried a bunch of different things and it didn't work, He tried what a lot of people do. MLMs and, random side hustle business. He went and got a real estate license for who knows what. Well, I don't know why, but he did, Just tried to do a bunch of stuff and it didn't work.
I think a lot of people can relate to that when they look at their parents and their struggle to make ends meet. Because we all know that a job isn't going to cut it unless you've got a particularly high-paying job. So
he was also in school, so that also played a role in it too. He was in school to be a neurosurgeon, and but he was still trying to have a backup plan in the event that didn't work out. He was always that type of person, always have a backup plan.
Plan A, Plan B, Plan C.
Yeah, you gotta have a Plan X. Okay.
Yeah. So I know that you have gone through some really awesome life changes as a result of meeting particular people. And for a minute, I'd like to just talk about my upbringing in comparison to yours. I would say mine was a lot like yours, although there is a key difference, and I just want our listeners to be aware of something. This transcends race. I'm white. Andre is black.
Very black.
Yeah. So I would just want this to be clear. We're not both white. This is something that is possible for people around the world of all races, all colors, all circumstances, all upbringings.
Yeah, I just a side tangent on that. I see that as an excuse a lot, like, oh, I can't do this because I'm black, or I can't do this because I'm plaid. The truth is that you can't do it because you're lazy. Okay,
you don't know what you're doing.
Hey, if people look, I'm just gonna be straight with you. If someone wanted to figure out a solution to their problem, they would go out of their way to find a solution to their problem.
And that's what we're teaching people right now.
And that's exactly what we're teaching people right now.
Right.
So if you're listening to this, congratulations. But there are a lot of people out there, and you may have been, hey, I have made my share of excuses too. I am not exempt, okay? And we'll talk about that a little bit later, but just to say that it has nothing to do with your skin color. So if you're thinking, oh, well, I'm black, this isn't going to work for me.
No. That's totally bullshit.
Yeah,
Absolute bullshit.
Complete BS.
So I grew up in a lower middle class white family, of course, in a wealthy town, though, although we didn't have any real wealthy friends. We kind of grew up on the outskirts. And as, you know, I went through school and went to college, and then I ended up in debt, and I never really had any wealthy role models. I only knew people who worked really hard for a lot of years and didn't have anything to show for it. So the difference between you and I, Andre, is that eventually, while you were still in your formative years, you saw people with money.
Yeah.
And you learned a lot of really valuable things that you've been able to implement in your life. But I never did. And so I eventually turned like 23, 24 even, and I had nothing but minimum wage jobs. I didn't know what the fuck I was going to do with my life. I knew I wanted more. I knew I wanted better. But what am I going to do? How? How do I do it? Do I have to go back to school? Do I have to be a fraud? Do I have to lie to people to get them to give me money? None of that. What I actually learned from Andre and then from the millionaire mentors that I got later on as a result of what I was taught is that there are so many ways to make money, almost unlimited ways. And most people who went through the public school system and maybe had middle-class parents are completely oblivious to all of them, except for making money through a job or through your own business. So let's move on a little bit. Can you tell us about when you met your first millionaire and what happened?
Well, I met a lot of millionaires. My very first millionaire, it'd be probably more prudent to say a millionaire I learned something from.
Yeah, like maybe when you were old enough to do something about it.
So my very first millionaire that I met was actually my neighbor Parmal. Or at least the one that I learned something from. I met him back when I first moved to Pennsylvania, and he was an interesting guy. He was from Fiji. He had money flowing out of his ears. He was like this former famous singer over there, and like he had money just.
He was like a celebrity in Fiji.
Yeah, he was a celebrity. Yeah, he was basically a celebrity, and he was the first one. The first lesson that he taught me, I remember to this day, and I apply it to some extent. I have my issues, but what he taught me was always avoid vending machines. Right?
What?
That's the very first. I'm seriously. That's the first lesson he ever taught me. Like, I had a conversation with him. I went over to his house. I sat down with him and I had a conversation with him, but it wasn't about money. It was about learning about him, actually. I was asking him about his career when he was in Fiji and this and another. And him and his wife were sitting down talking with me about it. And then he had actually just told me that advice that I didn't even ask.
Always avoid vending machines?
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell you what that means, right? He says that the reason why most people don't have any of the money that they want is because the way they spend their money is in a way that it costs them more money than it would be if they had spent it in a bulk manner. So he would not, like, for example, if he wanted a soda, he would go to the store, buy like a bunch of sodas, and then just always have a soda with him. So he never had to go to a vending machine and spend the extra money, right? Or whenever he wanted to buy anything at all, he didn't do impulse purchases. He would only buy things all at once or in bulk, so he could keep track of his money much easier because he knew how much he spent on a given day, and there would be days he would go by where he didn't spend any money. Like, it was just things like that. See, the thing about vending machines is when you go to a vending machine, You're like, okay, well, I want a bag of chips. And then you're like, well, okay, then I also want a soda. Oh, okay. And then I'm still kind of hungry, so I'll get this honey bun or whatever, right? And so you're spending more money than you actually intended. And if you did that, like, imagine you went to a vending machine every single day, right? Like, you would lose so much money.
Okay, so in like modern terms, that's like going to Starbucks every day.
Exactly. That's like going to Starbucks every day. Like, there are people who do that, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at, like, let's say you go to Starbucks every single day, that's $5, right? A day.
Is that weekends too?
That's weekends too. You go to Starbucks every day, $5 a day for an entire year. You know how much money you just burned when you could have just bought the coffee?
Yeah.
And made it yourself at home and then just took it with you when you left?
Yeah.
Right? So that's the difference between not going to a vending machine and going to a vending machine, right? If you had bought the coffee, it would have cost you $11, but it would have last you maybe a week or two, right? If you had gone to the vending machine, it lasts you right then and there, right? And then you don't get that back.
So I think that advice applies to people who don't intend to make more money.
It does. As a matter of fact, that was another angle that he took when he was telling me about avoiding vending machines. He said that most jobs are vending machines. Okay? So he would talk about Walmart. He would talk about basically like most of the service industry stuff, like food or going to like McDonald's or whatever, right? And he would say most of those jobs are vending machines because most people don't want to stay there forever. But by all the time that they've spent there, the amount of money they've made is negligible, right?
Yeah, there's no value for time.
And the other problem is that whenever you do in that particular field, it's not something you can carry over into something that's going to make you a lot more money, right? So it's the same thing if you go to a vending machine.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So it's the same thing. So that's why he was like, he always avoided vending machines. The only thing that he did in terms of making his money was he learned skills that he could translate into anything else that he did. When you work at stuff like Walmart there's nothing wrong with these jobs. I just want to point that out. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're trying to achieve greater, working there isn't how you're going to get there, right? Because the amount of time that it takes is not proportionate to the amount of the money that you make, right? And it's the same thing with a vending machine. If you go to a vending machine, okay.
Yeah, your money spent is not proportionate to the value you receive.
Correct.
Yeah. So what kind of skills did he learn?
He learned simple stuff, really. He learned how to garden. He learned how to write because he used to write. He would actually ghostwrite for people where he was from.
So it wasn't like quantum physics. He didn't learn how to read a stock chart.
No. He was not a finance guy whatsoever. The way that he made his money, he had investments and stuff. Most of his investments were real estate. That was like the only investment that I ever heard of him making. But he had homes all over the world. And they were like multi-million-dollar homes that he was renting out. So that was income coming in, right? So he had so much money. And the thing is, if you looked at the house he was living in, you wouldn't have thought that.
I was going to say that because I've seen the house you're talking about. And it is on this like small street in rural Pennsylvania. Like you can imagine any classic rural American town with a street that has houses on both sides and a little fire engine, like fire station, a couple blocks down. This is the house we're talking about. It was like one story. It had a big porch or whatever, but it was nothing special.
Nope.
Absolutely nothing.
He wasn't he had those big homes, but he didn't live in them because he didn't like them. Like he was like, I don't like living in a house that big, right? And his idea was, if I want another room, I'll just add it to my house. Right?
That's so inconvenient.
Yeah, maybe it is, but he really enjoyed where he lived.
Yeah.
And so he would rather spend that money rather than go and, but he had the money. He could do that.
Right.
He was making just off, and that's not even, what he did for work? Like, he worked at a golf course just because he could do it. He didn't need to. He was just bored. And he would go and cut the grass at a golf course.
I see. Okay. So that's a really interesting story because there's a lot of elements to it that I think are really unexpected, especially from people who may not have ever met a millionaire before. And one of the key ones is that they're sometimes and quite often indistinguishable from the average person.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. Like, I met a millionaire that was a manager at a grocery store. Okay?
What?
Dead serious. He was a manager at a grocery store, but he was a millionaire.
What did he make his money doing?
Real estate.
Oh my God.
Yep.
That's so crazy.
Yep. He was just bored and he wanted to engage with people, so he went to go work at a grocery store.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's so valuable though, because when we say there are millionaires everywhere,
Yeah, you would never know.
there literally are millionaires I was just looking at the number this morning. We live in Arizona, which is a state that does have a lot more wealthy people than some other states, but there are 160,000 millionaires in the state of Arizona. Mm-hmm. That is a shitload of people.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
I don't know how many people fit into like a stadium. Probably not 100,000
No.
of them.
No, maybe 50,000 people.
You could
That's not half a stadium full of people.
You could fill 3 stadiums full of people, and all of them would be millionaires. And that's how many millionaires are in Arizona.
That's a lot.
And they are in every single U.S. state. Mm-hmm. Pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk next, because that's been really interesting. Let's talk a little bit how specifically your life was impacted by millionaires and what advice they gave you that you've applied.
Okay, so the vending machine thing, I definitely applied.
Yeah.
I applied that. In the way that I applied it was like this. So, one thing that I was taught by, actually, Parmal, was not to look at my work in the form of dollars. Right? Because a lot of the time when people, when they look at the amount of time that they work, they look at, okay, well, I'm getting this per hour. Yeah. Right? Well, what I learned to do was not do that. Instead, I look at how much time it would take for me to do something. Right? Uh-huh. But I wouldn't look at the money that I would get from that. So what I would do is I would go, all right, I want this particular thing. So let's say I wanted to get a new cooking tool, whatever, some new pot or pan or whatever. That was like a couple $100.
A KitchenAid.
Yeah, sure, whatever. Okay, something like that. Let's say that I wanted to do that. All right, I would look at that and see the price.
$200.
All right. How much work do I have to do to make $200?
Shit, if you work at a fucking Starbucks making $15 an hour, that's like 2 full days of work at least.
Right. Okay. So what I was taught to do was to start looking at, okay, how much time is it going to take for me to do X? And how much work do I have to do to afford Y? All right. So I don't look at how much hours. Okay. I don't look at, oh, well, I'm making $5 an hour, so it's going to, no, I don't do that. All right. So, and then I go, what can I do that's going to allow me to get that faster? So let's say I want to buy that $200 thing. Do I happen to have anything in my home that I can sell for $200? That's the first thing I would think of. Can I sell something for, I don't know, 2 things for $100 or 1 thing for $200 and then I have the money, right? That's the fastest way. But let's say I can't do that. All right, who can I help that's going to allow me to do that?
Oh, I get it.
Right? So, who can I help that's going to allow me to do that faster? So maybe I can do 1 hour of work, but I help one person, and they give me $200. So I did 1 hour work, I helped one person, and got $200. Right?
Okay, so you'd be helping them with something somewhat difficult for them to pay you that.
No.
For an hour?
No. See, what you did there is what most people would do.
What are you going to do for $200 an hour?
That depends.
Well,
okay.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, you're looking at from what you value to be what would be worth that money.
I guess.
Not what someone else would value to be that. Let's say someone wanted me to proofread something that they did. That could be very valuable to them. They could pay me $200 for that. Let's say that someone wanted me to fix something on their website. That could be $200. Let's say that someone wanted me to go over their copy And I happen to go over that, proofread a copy. Well, guess what? That could be $200.
Yes, I hear you. There's one thing to that. And I think the thing is that you need to know people who can pay you.
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Yes and no. Yes, you need to know people who can pay you, but it's more important to know where to find those people who can pay you. It's not so, because you can find people that'll pay you that. Right, you can find people that'll be like, hey, I'll give you $200 this week just to walk my dog, right? Now
they got money. They got money.
They got money, right? Yeah, I'll give you $200. It don't take no hour to walk no dog, right? But let's say they spend 4 days in a week walking the dog for 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. Right?
$200.
$200.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
That's 1 hour.
Okay, so instead of working 2 days at Starbucks to afford the KitchenAid for $200, you found someone who let you walk their dog for an hour total, and you made $200.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, it's stuff like that. See, that's what people don't think like that. They think more like, well, you got to find someone who's going to give you that. No.
So they're like kind of capping themselves in terms of what they can make for their time. If
they
only think,
because that's how people are taught to make money.
Right. If they only think from, I make X amount of dollars per hour, so it must take me X amount of hours. But they should instead think, what can I do for more money in less time?
Correct. Look, if it's still an hour of work.
Yes.
Right? It's still an hour of work. But that could be a very valuable service to that person. Because that person might not have that 15 minutes in their life. We know millionaires that barely got enough time to wipe their ass.
True.
Let alone be able to walk their dog.
They don't walk their
dogs. They don't walk their dogs. Exactly my point. Okay?
Yeah. That makes sense. So your millionaire friend taught you that?
Yeah. Parmal was the one who taught me that. Yeah.
And what have you been able to do with that information?
Well, it's actually how I make a lot of my side money now. So I tend not to spend money out of my account when... And this is why I tend to have, a fair amount of money in my account, because I tend not to spend money out of it. Instead, what I do is I have another account where that's where my side money goes. Okay? And my side money, I go online and I'll say, hey, if something, like, let's say I know some people or go on Facebook and see somebody who's like, yo, man, do you know somebody who could do this? And I'll be like, yeah, I could do that. And I scratch it off. I do it. And I give them my price. I say, it'll cost me this much to do that. Cost you this much to do that. They give me the money. I get the work done. Boom. Now, these are people I know, relationships I've cultivated, right? But anybody could do this, okay? So I do one of these like a week. One a week, okay? One a week. And the most in a week that I've made, which I know that's going to be a question that someone's going to, how much money did you make doing it?
Yeah, $200 a week? That's nothing.
No, the most that I made in a week is $5,000 doing this type of thing. And I spent maybe 10 hours.
10 hours? $5,000?
Yeah.
That's a deal.
Right. Now, that is just because I look at things differently than most people. Most people look at making money like, well, I got to go to work. And I got to spend my entire day there. And this, that, and other. But if I could work the same amount of time that you do and make 10 times the money, you think I'm gonna do what you do?
I'm picking that 10 out of 10 times.
Right. I'm not doing that ever. Okay, I'm gonna do what I do.
Okay. Wow. Okay, so your millionaire connections that you've met over the course of your life really gave you some out of the box money making tips that you would have never learned from anyone else.
Oh yeah, I would have never. No. I have read so many books. I've never seen anything like what I've learned from them in a book. Are they not even close?
And I find that so interesting because a lot of millionaires have written books, but that information is so sanitized so that the average person can understand it, so that the book sells. I feel like, but when you meet a millionaire and you talk to them directly, they can judge what they can tell you that you're going to understand.
Yeah.
Or they will tell you something that you don't understand, and eventually you're going to figure it out by spending more time with them.
Yep.
So that ties into why having a millionaire mentor is so impactful and so life-changing. Mm-hmm. It's the one-on-one transfer of knowledge from one person to the other.
There is no comparison. I don't care. Look, just straight up. I have done online courses. I have, gotten a coach or whatever. I'm telling you right now, okay, there is nothing that compares to having the mentor actually tell you not what you want to hear, what you need to hear. Okay? There is a really big difference. And Parmal was a really nice guy. He would never say anything that would hurt someone's feelings. He was not that type of guy. Okay? Now, my other mentor, that's a different matter.
Peter.
Peter. But Parmal was not that type of guy. He was a really nice dude, but he would tell you what you needed to hear. He was like, hey, look, I followed his advice of avoiding vending machines for 1 month. I saved $1,000 that month. I was actually, I was up money doing the same behaviors with the exception of avoiding vending machines, like he suggested.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, 1 month of following his advice.
I feel like the average person would be like, oh, that's stupid advice. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
well, why you're not a millionaire.
That's why you're not a millionaire, right? And that's not why you're not even 100,000 Right. You're a brokenaire. Right. Okay? You're broke.
God.
Because, and you know what? I've been there. I was broke too. I was broke when he gave me that advice. Okay?
Yeah.
I was broke when he gave me that advice. I didn't stay broke. So.
That is such a good segue because one thing that I hear all the fucking time, and it doesn't drive me crazy because I understand, but people are like, why would a millionaire talk to me, a broke person who works at Walmart or Starbucks?
A millionaire, first off, that's both a really good question and a really question. Okay? So, you have to stop thinking that millionaires won't talk to you because you don't have money. Your money problems is not a millionaire's problem, okay?
They don't care.
They don't care. Look, you know how many times I have talked to millionaires and millionaires say to me these words, I don't care how much money you have. Because they don't care. They actually do not care, okay? Because they're secure enough in their own finances, they don't need to know how much money you got, okay? It's not, believe me, you being broke is not keeping them up at night, all right? It's not. Right? So they don't care. It's not about that. It's about what their experiences are with you when they are with you.
Will you say that again? Say it again.
It's about the experience they have when they're with you. That 5 seconds that you gave them or that they got from you should probably be the most impactful 5 seconds of their life. Okay? And it could be from any number of things. It could be because you asked them a good question. It could be because you were observant and you noticed something that most people wouldn't notice. It could be because you went out of your way to look incredibly good. Whatever that experience is, they need to remember how that felt. Not remember you, but the feeling that they had from meeting you.
You know what's so funny? I know a lot of people who listen to this are going to think, most impactful 5 seconds, what do I need to have a building explode behind me and walk away like Heath Ledger in Batman? Like, no, you just have to ask them a question that they've never been asked before or that they need to really think about for a second because that stuff, those moments are impactful.
Yeah.
When was the last time somebody asked you a question like, what are you the proudest about in your life? Or like, what was the most impactful moment that you've ever experienced?
Right.
And whether or not you have a good answer to that question is irrelevant. It's more a matter of that person took the time to ask and listen to the answer that you give. Because that question and your subsequent answer will tell them a lot about you. And they obviously want to know. Otherwise, they wouldn't have asked.
I get messages. I use not so much anymore because I've shut down so many people, but I just over like the last year, I've gotten so many messages from people in the sales space asking for my help. I get so many, hey, can you mentor me? Hey, I'll pay you this. Can you mentor me? Can you do this? Can you do this? Not a single one of those people, none of them, not a single one of those people ever asked me a single thing about me. Every time they talk to me, they ask about themselves. And that's why I turn them down. That's why I turned every one of them down.
Wow.
Every one of them down. Because they only ask for something that they want. Me teaching them sales and helping them get better at what they do does not help me and is not beneficial to me in any way.
Except for the money if they pay you.
If they pay, that's not even beneficial to me. Okay? I don't have a money problem.
Your time is more important than the money they pay you.
Yeah, my time is more important. Hey, I can make money. I can't make time. I don't get my time back.
Yeah.
So when people ask me, hey, you did this well last year. You think you can help mentor me? No, I'm not going to, because you don't even know the basics of sales.
So how should someone approach you if they were to get you to mentor them?
They need to ask about me.
What should they ask?
They can ask anything.
How are you doing today?
Sure, that'd be better. You know what? That would be better than what people ask me.
Can I get mentorship?
Can I get mentorship? Hey, I'll pay you back when I do really well.
Oh my God, bro.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, so if you were working at a restaurant, can I say, hey, I'll pay you back when I think this food isn't going to make me throw up later tonight? Can I say that? No, of course not. So why would I do that?
So let's extrapolate that out to wealthy people. If you're very private, there's not very many people who know about you and what you do and how successful you are in sales, except for maybe in your online space.
In my space, yeah.
Millionaires who are more well known out in the public, maybe even, imagine how many people they get who come up to them and say, can I get mentorship from you? Can I pay you to do this for me? Can I blah, 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 blah. It's always what that person wants, and it's literally never, ever about what you can do for that millionaire to impact their life, even if it's just taking them out for dinner and having a nice conversation.
Yeah, nobody ever offers me shit, okay? And that's their prerogative.
I offer you shit.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about everyone else.
Yeah.
Okay? Nobody offers me nothing. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I always turn them down. And everyone's like, oh man, he's such an asshole because he won't train me. Like, well, hello, you were the asshole. Okay? You're the one being selfish.
Yep.
All right?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm being selfish with my time because you are being selfish with your consideration. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's not just me who thinks like this. It's not just me.
Yep.
There are millionaires that think exactly like that. Hey, you're not willing to,
see me as a person.
See me as a person. You only see me as an ATM. Why should I talk to you?
Yeah, there are a billion other people just like you. Why should I talk to you?
Why should I talk to you? And I want to point out that if someone ever asks that question, you've messed up already. Okay? If someone asks you, why should I talk to you? You better have one hell of a retort. But either way, if someone feels like that, if they say that to you, they already feel like they've been wasting their time talking to you.
Yeah.
Okay? And so that's why you got to be like, hey, I'm not here for me. I mean, you're there for you, but you don't make it obvious, right?
They know that already.
They already know you're there. But the thing is, you got to play the game. You got to play the game the way they play the game. You don't play the game according to your rules and think you're going to win. Like, not with people you're looking to ask people to help you learn how to make millions of dollars. But you can't play the game according to their rules? Why should they help you?
You can't do what they tell you to do or need you to do or want you to do first before you learn from them.
Right.
You can't be bothered to reach out and ask how they're doing without even mentioning getting mentorship. Right. No, because they're only an ATM. They're only a millionaire. That's it. They don't have their own feelings. No, fuck off.
And that's right there is why so many people, when they have the opportunity, they're sitting right in front of them, they don't even notice because they've ruined it.
Yeah.
They ruined it. So even if you did learn how to go meet a millionaire, you're already, handicapped because you're thinking about yourself. Okay? You gotta play the game according to their rules. Now, this is your lucky day because I'm gonna tell you the rules.
Ooh.
Okay? So you don't know the rules.
You're going to know them now.
And so you're going to know them now. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to share with you the rules of engagement for millionaires. Okay? So you don't suck.
So it actually works for you.
At doing this, yes. You want to actually... I'm going to tell you. Okay. Rule number 1. We already talked about it. What's rule number 1?
Be nice.
Rule number 1 is making it about them, not you.
Yeah, okay. Be nice. Make it about them, not you.
Yeah. Make it about them, not you. All right? So how can you help them? Can you even help them with something easy, basic, simple?
Pick their kids up from school.
Right. Can you help them with that? Can you clean off their kitchen counter? Are you too prideful to do that? Right?
Are you?
Right. Which brings me to number 2. Rule of engagement. Get rid of your ego. Okay? Look, all right. This may hurt some people's feelings, and if it does, that's your problem. Okay? If you can't put aside your ego to learn and to even do things that you may feel is beneath you, you don't deserve to make money.
Yeah, let's look at that for a second.
Okay.
You've got a job at Walmart making fucking pennies, but cleaning a millionaire's kitchen is beneath you?
Right.
What?
Right. Now, that millionaire... Now, guess what? You know what? People wouldn't think it was so beneath them if they were getting paid $1,000 to do it.
Right.
Right?
Who the fuck's going to pay you $1,000 to wipe the crumbs off their fucking counter?
Right. See, the thing is, you need to learn... This goes into rule number 3, but we'll get to that in a second. You need to learn that your ego is going to be your biggest enemy.
How so, Andre?
Because when a millionaire asks you to do something, I get asked by millionaires, okay, to do some, even to this day, to do some stuff that's kind of like, what? Right?
Like what?
I got a perfect example just this morning.
What happened this morning?
Okay, just this morning I was talking with a millionaire, and that millionaire was like, hey, could you read this document for me and tell me if it's any good?
Read a document?
Yeah.
Did you do it?
Yeah.
Oh, because your ego didn't get in the way.
Right.
Oh, I see.
Right? It's like, you read a document. Like, most people would look at that like, that's it? Like, yeah. But see, the thing is, and that's rule number 3, okay, the thing is, I am, to most of the people I know, the most reliable person they know.
Ah.
Okay? So, rule number 1 is make it about them, not yourself. Right?
Yep.
Okay. Rule number 2, get rid of your ego. Throw it in the trash. It's going to prevent you, your ego is closing the world off to you.
Facts.
Okay? When you're going in there like, I'm not going to do that because why don't you just tell me how to get to the money part?
It's also egoic to think to yourself, I have nothing to offer.
Yeah.
That's very egoic.
It's also, that's a very good point. That is just as egotistical. To be like, I don't have anything to offer. Why would they want to talk to me? That's self-centered. Yeah. Okay? Get out of that.
It's a negative self-centering versus a overly positive self-centering.
Right. Okay. So, number 1, make it about them, not you. Number 2, get rid of your ego. What's number 3?
I don't know. Number... Oh, frick. I didn't know there was going to be a pop quiz.
All right, don't worry about it. All right. Number 3 is... What?
No,
anyway.
I had a joke. I wasn't going to
go ahead.
No, it's not. It's inappropriate.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure it is. It's probably something to do with something that I'm not going to mention. Anyway, so number 3 is don't expect anything in return.
But that means they're gonna take advantage of me.
Yeah,
that means they're just gonna make me work for free my entire life until I die in a millionaire's closet.
No, that's no. See, when you don't expect anything, right? You're not creating a, what's the word I want to use? You're not creating a necessity for something to work. So what happens very often is when people have an expectation, they cling on to that expectation. And then their behavior starts matching what they believe that expectation is. And so when something doesn't meet that expectation, it doesn't meet the need that they needed to have that expectation was meant to serve.
To make it work. Okay, let's do it. Let's give a real example. Let's say someone offers to pick a millionaire's kids up from school 5 days a week because they can do that. They have time. And they go into it with the expectation, oh, if I pick these kids up 5 days a week for a month, they're going to agree to mentor me.
Right.
And then a month goes by and they're still picking the kids up from school and there's no offer of mentorship. What would that person then start doing?
So right there, in most cases, if there's no offer of mentorship, right there, you're already wrong. Because you're expecting to get mentored. Expecting, right? Expectation. That's against the rules.
That person might start to get frustrated, resentful, angry. They're not doing it out of the kindness of their heart anymore. Now it becomes, it's conditional. It's not being a good friend. It's being a friend on these conditions.
Yeah. And nobody wants conditional friends. Okay?
No, absolutely not.
Nobody wants to, hey, I'll be your friend
if.
Right? Nobody wants that.
But guess what kind of friends millionaires typically have? Well, conditional ones.
Yeah, they do. Millionaires do, right? Yeah. But the thing is, when you show a millionaire that you're not one of those people, that you're not one of those people who is on a condition,
boom.
It's, man, let it rain.
The value is there, and
money.
It's free.
Yeah, it's free.
You didn't spend shit to be an unconditional friend to a wealthy person.
Yep. So, if you want to remember these rules, go back and listen to this, because these are the rules that are going to help you when you're doing this. Now, last rule, well, it's more like an honorable mention. Okay. Honorable mention rule. And this is sort of like the entire essence of working with millionaires. Give before you get, right? So, while you're making it about them, make sure, this actually is a 2-part rule. Make sure that you are making it about them, but don't be afraid to ask for what you want. Okay.
What does that mean?
Okay, so I know that may sound like, well, you just said not to do this, so listen, hear me out. Okay. What you want to do is you do want to help people, but when you've done enough and that person has shown their gratitude, which they will, okay, they will, and it doesn't necessarily have to take long, right? Then you could say, I've been trying to do this for a while. I was wondering if you'd be willing to take some time aside to help me with that, whatever that is, right? 9.8 out of 10, they're going to say, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
They're going to do it because you've given your time. Millionaires, another honorable mention. Millionaires, I got plenty of them. Millionaires value time over money.
True.
Okay. You may go, well, you got a bunch of money. They obviously value money over time. No, they don't. They value time over money. They will spend money to gain time.
Yes.
Okay, time is a millionaire and or billionaire's number one investment.
Yeah. Yep.
It's the number one investment.
They're more likely to pay you to go away than to spend their time on you if they don't like you.
You know what? She's not wrong. They're more likely to be like, you know what? Here, look.
Here, take this money and fuck off.
Here's $50. Get the fuck out of my face. Okay? They're more likely to do. I actually have a story of that happening once, but we're not going to talk about it now because that has happened.
Huh? Have I heard that story?
No.
Oh.
No. But I have watched people get paid to go away.
Wow. That's
go away.
Hilarious.
I don't ever want to talk to you again. Go away.
Because that's what they're after. Just a couple bucks.
Yeah, if they're a couple bucks, they get that $50 check.
Oh, $50.
Oh,
nuts.
Yeah.
And they've just ruined a lifetime of opportunity.
Yep.
Wow. Those are amazing tips. And I hope that the listener, you, my lovely friend, feels impacted by this, because this stuff is really not hard. It's life-changing.
Well, I will say this. It's not hard, but it's not hard for people who have been exposed to it. It's incredibly difficult for people who are used to thinking in a certain way, right?
Yes.
And so in order to really emphasize any of this stuff, you have to have an open mind. If you're a closed-minded individual, you might have a hard time doing this stuff, okay? There was a lot of information in this audio, interview, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of info here that you may have to listen to a few times before it actually clicks.
Yes.
Because it's a different way of thinking than the way you think now, than most people think. And if you want to work with millionaires, if there's anything I can leave you with that it would be really simple for you to realize, if you want to work with millionaires, you got to learn how to think like them.
How do I do that?
You listen to this.
Listen to this.
This.
Oh, this.
This audio.
Yeah.
You listen to this because the information in here is going to tell you exactly how to think like them.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're not even not normal people. They're normal people.
They're very normal people.
They just have different things, different experiences that everyone can learn from, one way or another. So we would like you to avoid learning in the negative way by being paid to go away.
Yeah, you don't want to get paid to go away.
That's a learning experience in itself. But you should skip that one because it's, you don't need to experience that. So, all right. This has been extremely value-packed. We're at about 46 minutes here. Is there any last piece of information you'd like to give? Oh, I have a great question if it's okay. Can you summarize what networking with millionaires has done for your life?
Good question. So, number one, out of everyone that I know, I am the most autonomous. Meaning, I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, and I don't have any of the responsibility.
You don't have a job. And
I don't have a job.
You haven't had a job in years.
I haven't had a job since my early 20s.
Do you have a business?
No.
No. So you're a freelancer who just works with millionaires.
Yeah.
And you make a bunch of money doing it.
Yeah.
Word.
So that's it. But I can do whatever I want, and one thing I will say, one of the biggest things I've gained is that there's so many ways to hit a goal. And like a lot of people, for example, don't even know how much money they need to make in order to just do nothing.
True. I get that question sometimes.
Yeah, like nobody actually knows how much money they need to make to do that. And the thing is, that number is going to be different for everyone.
Yep. Cost of living is way lower in some places.
Yeah. So that number is going to be different. So, like, let's say that you live in Wyoming. Your total big, massive number that you need to make a year may actually be only $70,000.
That's a good life in Wyoming.
Right,
Montana rents like $400.
Yeah, Montana rents like $400 for a fucking 2-bedroom apartment.
Right.
Like, it might not be a great 2-bedroom apartment, but it's a 2-bedroom apartment.
You could do absolutely fucking nothing on like $50,000 a year.
Yeah. And so, for a lot of people in Montana, $50,000 a year basically may as well be $200,000 a year.
Yeah, right.
So it really just depends on where you live, but I know how much money I need to make in order to do nothing, right? And by nothing, I don't mean like just lump around, but what I mean by nothing is where I don't have to work. My work is optional.
That is facts. I watch you on a daily basis spend most of your time literally just doing what you feel like doing.
Yeah, I just do whatever I feel like doing because I already know how much money I need to make and how much time I need to spend doing X things to make that amount of money. So for me, I already know that, and thus I get to work within that space. And I can expand it, of course, over time. But yeah, I already know that. So a lot of people don't know that.
Have you ever not had someone reach out to you for work when you needed money?
No, I've never not had that. Whenever very rarely do I go out to people and say, hey, you got something for me to do? It does happen, but it's rare. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, people come to me and they'll be like, hey, do you know somebody who could do this, or can you do it?
How big is your network?
Like 10 people.
Huh. And those 10 people all have things going on that require people's help.
Yeah,
and
everyone's
so
at
they reach
different
out to you.
Yeah, everyone's at different stages of their life, their business, profession, whatever. Everyone's in different stages. So
the point is they don't have Walmart jobs where they don't need anyone else's help because they're,
These are business owners. These
Yeah.
are, people, really successful people. These aren't like
bums.
Yeah. I'm certainly not going to expect a homeless guy to give me $200 or something,
Yeah, that goes back to what you mentioned earlier, how wealthy people typically have very chaotic lives.
They have very chaotic lives. Like, I some of the people I look at, I'm like, how the hell do you exist?
Why? Why do you do this every day?
And the thing is, that's not something I want for myself, right? I don't want to have that kind of a chaotic life, but for them, the benefits way outweigh the negatives.
And it gives you an opportunity to do work for them whenever you feel like doing some work.
I have an endless supply of work because there's always things changing in their lives, and they need something. They need a way to keep up with that, and that's where I come in. I come in and go be like, "You need help with that?" Or they will be like, "Hey, Dre, I kind of need you for like 20 things, right?" And then I get paid. So that's it.
Word. All right. Thank you so much, Andre, for this very impactful interview. And I hope you enjoyed it, my lovely listener. And keep an eye out for new products coming out to help you get successfully on your journey to getting a millionaire mentor. All right. Peace out.